Are you thinking about getting a new VR headset and wondering whether the Quest 3S or the Quest 3 is the better option for you? I'll answer that question in this video, and we'll start with the price. First up, we have the MetaQuest 3S with 128GB of internal storage, which is currently priced at $300, and I don't expect the price to change too quickly. There's also a 256GB version of the Quest 3S, which costs around $390. So that's quite a significant price increase, and the only difference is simply double the internal storage. Okay, I admit, Apple would probably charge even more for something like this, but before I give my verdict, let's take a look at the Quest 3. The Quest 3 also comes in two versions, the 128GB model, which hasn't been produced since November 2024, so you can only buy it as a resale at a significantly inflated price, currently around $590, but this product will probably be completely unavailable soon. So let's set that one aside and focus on the 512GB version of the MetaQuest 3, which costs $500. That's the standard price, and I don't expect it to change anytime soon. So now we know the MetaQuest 3S is about $110 cheaper than the MetaQuest 3. Now, let's get to the big question. What's the real difference besides the price? Let's start with performance. Both VR headsets have the same processor. The performance is identical. They both use the Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 Gen 2, which is still the standard chip for standalone VR headsets. There are no other standalone VR headsets offering anything better. Both also have 8GB of RAM, meaning the computational power is exactly the same. This point is settled. Okay, what about the sensors in the VR headset? Here, they actually use the same sensors except for one difference. The Quest 3 has a depth sensor, while the Quest 3S does not. But that doesn't mean the tracking is worse on the 3S. No, it simply uses software instead. The infrared sensors provide the necessary data, and it works just as well. In this regard, both headsets perform equally well. So it must be the display quality, right? Yes, we're getting closer to the answer. First, let's talk about resolution. The Quest 3S has a resolution of 1832 by 1920 pixels per eye, while the Quest 3 has 2064 by 2208 pixels per eye. That means the Quest 3 has about 30% higher resolution than the Quest 3S, and you might think, and rightly so, that this must result in a much sharper image on the Quest 3. But that's not the case because the chip is identical, and the chip renders the image in both headsets at 1680 by 1760 pixels when you're in standalone mode. This is lower than either of the headset's resolutions, so the images look almost the same in the standalone mode. There's no real difference. However, there is difference when using PC VR. If you have a powerful PC, especially with the current NVIDIA RTX 3000 or 4000 series graphics cards, you can fully utilize the Quest 3's resolution, and the image will be much sharper than on the Quest 3S. In summary, in standalone mode, both are equal. In PC VR, the Quest 3 is noticeably better. How about the refresh rate? Both headsets run at 90Hz by default. It's also possible to increase the refresh rate to 120Hz. This is especially relevant for PC VR, but less so for regular standalone use. Since both headsets are the same in this regard, this point is settled. Display quality is not just about resolution and refresh rate. The type of lens used is also important. The Quest 3S uses Fresnel lenses, which are the same type used in the Quest 2. These lenses require a larger headset, making it less comfortable to wear as the headset becomes more front-heavy than with a larger lever arm. Another downside of Fresnel lenses is the God ray effect, which is a common issue. I'll show you what it looks like here. This is definitely a disadvantage of the Quest 3S compared to the Quest 3. The Quest 3, on the other hand, uses pancake lenses. This results in a slimmer design and better comfort. So a clear point goes to the Quest 3 here. Another clear advantage for the Quest 3 is the field of view. That's how much of your surroundings you can see. The Quest 3S has an FOV of 96 degrees horizontally and 90 degrees vertically, which is fine and doesn't really cause any issues, especially if you haven't used the Quest 3 before. The Quest 3, however, has an FOV of 110 horizontal and 96 degrees vertical, and yes, that makes a difference. If you get used to the wider field of view, the narrower FOV of the Quest 3S will feel like you're wearing scuba goggles. But if the Quest 3S is your first VR headset, you won't notice this as much. So overall, the Quest 3 is better in terms of comfort and image quality, but not by a huge margin. We're talking about 10 to 20% better than the Quest 3S. However, there are also some things that the Quest 3S does better than the Quest 3, and this is quite surprising, given that the Quest 3S has a smaller battery at 4,324 mAh compared to the 5,060 mAh battery of the Quest 3, but somehow the Quest 3S tends to last longer, running for about 2.5 hours, while the Quest 3 lasts around 2 hours. I assume the removal of the depth sensor saves some energy, but the lower resolution might also play a role here. I can't say for sure, but the battery life on the Quest 3S is generally better. One more thing that might matter to some people, though probably not most, is the 3.5mm headphone jack. It's gone. The Quest 3 still has it, but the 3S doesn't. Of course, if you use Bluetooth headphones or USB-C headphones, this won't matter to you. But there are still a few people out there who prefer using wired headphones. It's a shame the jack is no longer available. Now, for my opinion and conclusion, what do I recommend? I'll keep it simple. Get the MetaQuest 3S with 128GB. If you just want a VR headset for occasional gaming, don't need PC VR and want something budget-friendly, this is the right choice for you. You won't regret it. And it's also the best VR headset for beginners, in my opinion, because for $300, you get such a great headset. And right now, you also get Batman Arkham VR for free, along with 3 months of MetaQuest Plus. That means some free games too. It's definitely a fantastic deal. But if you say, no, I've got the money, I want better image quality, more comfort, I want PC VR, then get the 512GB version of the MetaQuest 3, not the 3S. That one costs $500, and the price is worth it. However, if you're thinking about getting the 256GB version of the MetaQuest 3S because PC VR doesn't interest you, but you don't want to constantly reinstall games due to limited storage, don't get it. I think the price for the 256GB model is not justified. The price to performance ratio is poor. If you're willing to spend that much more, just spend a bit more and get the 512GB version of the Quest 3. You'll get twice the storage, better image quality, and more comfort. So for me, there are only two options, the 128GB MetaQuest 3S or the 512GB MetaQuest 3. The others, in my opinion, are not worth it. Are you convinced? Then here are the QR codes. Scan them and grab the model that appeals to you more. This has been Marty, and I'll be seeing you on the next video. Cheers!